everyone. This is a list of materials that you guys are going to need to acquire on your own that are not in your French Pail club kit. These are things that I'd like you to have on hand all the time because you need them for a lot of things, and anyone who orders from me knows that I go through this list every single time, so you guys can probably skip it. But anyway, I have some new club members for the Pail, and I want you guys to make sure that you have these on hand at all times. First is Swoon or CC Caldwell Dark Wax. It's great. You're going to need it. You're going to use it for everything. You can use it on jewelry. You can use it on paper. You can use it on everything. I love it. You can get it at any small antique store, places like Vignettes in Ocean Beach here in San Diego, the Urban Barn. You can get it in CC Caldwell or Swoon. It's about $25. It's a must-have in your house. Also, the Min Wax, I like to get the light wax or clear wax. It's a lot less expensive, and I get it at Home Depot. It's about $9. Then I need you to have always E6000 Glue Clear. Surgical gloves, I get a box of 200 at Costco. Different size nylon paint brushes. Some jewelry benders. You can get those at Michael's for about $5. I want you to have a lot of clamps, small clamps, medium clamps. I have about 100 of them. You need them because you're going to use a lot of them in my projects. Then I want you guys to always have on hand, especially for this project, different soft cloths. I use cotton. You can get a big bag of them in the paint department at Home Depot for about $7. And that's about it. Let's get started. Okay, everybody, we're going to start using our metal pails. You've got 3 metal pails all together. I'm going to demonstrate on the small one. I want you to get your metal pails, all 3 of them, and all your brass pieces. The small one here has this scalloped brass piece and the 2 small swags, rose swags, and then it has 4 brass feet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it where I want it. I've had to bend it using my bending tool so that it lays the way I want it to as well as possible. And what I'm going to do is, what I've done already, is I'm going to take a pencil. You can use a permanent black marker if you'd like. And I've outlined it where it's going to lay, because that's important, because we don't want to paint that just yet. So I've outlined that there. My smaller swags, I'm going to lay next to it. I'm going to bend that. So that it lays the way I want it and where I want it. And I'm going to outline that too. I'm going to outline every piece of brass on all my pails. You guys probably can't see what I'm doing with the pencil, but I can see it. And that's all that's important, is that you can see it when you start to paint. It doesn't have to be perfect, just outline where it sits. When you're done doing that, the top, I want you to go measure around if you need to in equal parts to do your feet. Going to have to bend these too so that they lay nicely. You want them to lay as flat as possible. And when I do, see, I'm not going to measure. I'm going to eyeball it like I said, but you guys can measure to make sure it's right. I'm just going to go down the center with my first one. And I'm going to make sure that this small little dot part here, up part, is going to be above the rim on the bottom. just going to sit right there. And that's where I'm going to lay my brass feet, and that's where they're going to be glued eventually. So I'm going to do that on all four, and then I'm going to outline where I'm putting this. Hold it in place and outline it. And I want you guys to do that all the way around with your four equally spaced brass feet. And when you guys are done with that, we're going to come back and we're going to start painting. All right, now that we've taken our brass pieces and placed them where we wanted to on our metal pails, all three of them, we're going to take some white acrylic paint. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to do a thin layer over the entire thing except where you have drawn your brass pieces to be. So like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want to have any paint in that space because that's where you're going to be gluing your brass pieces. So we don't want the acrylic paint in there. This is just a primer. So it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be on there. There just has to be a layer of it. It doesn't have to be thick. You're going to do this to all three of your brass pails. Your metal pails. You can do the inside if you want. You don't have to. Just depends on if you plan on painting the inside. Once you have a decent layer, remember, don't paint inside of your lines. We're going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do. All right. Now what I want you guys to do, since all your pails are primed with your white acrylic paint, I want you to do all of your brass pieces. Only thing is, I only want you to do the fronts of them. Do not do the backs, with the exception of your feet. I want you to paint the fronts of your feet. Probably want to let them dry in between this. And then I want you to go on the back of your feet. I don't want you to paint the top portion, just the small, maybe go up about 3/4 of an inch and paint that much because there's no glue going to be on that part and you're going to see that down at the bottom of your pail. So this is all I want you to paint on the back of your feet and then the front. Once all of your pieces are primed, along with your pail, all three of your pails, I want you to put them in an oven at 200 degrees and bake them for 1 hour. That's going to set the acrylic paint into the metals, kind of like a primer. I don't want you guys to buy a spray primer because it's not going to work. And we never put a spray primer in the oven either because of the toxic fumes. That's why I only use an acrylic paint. It's going to cure relatively well, and it's better than waiting 30 to 60 days for it to cure on its own. So once again, put it in an oven, all the pieces, at 200 degrees for 1 hour, and then we'll come back and we'll start to finish. Okay, now everything has been baked for all three of the pails. This is what it should look like. Sometimes it looks a little red. That's all right, it's just the brass reacting. So what we're going to do now is, we've got all of our clips, our clamps, and we're going to take our E6000 and we're going to start gluing. I'm going to start with my feet. I'm going to put a generous amount. I say it in every video, if you don't have enough glue, you're going to be sorry. You can take it off and clean it after it's dry. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to take my glued piece and I'm going to put it in a space that I have open that wasn't painted on my pail. I don't know if you guys can see this. And I'm going to clamp it. I'm going to use these. You want to use your smaller ones. These are great. They cost 30 cents a piece at Home Depot. They're really strong, and you want really, really strong. I love them. See how that's there? Put as many as you need. There's not a lot of space underneath here for the clamp to go, so that's the one bummer doing the bottom pieces. Once you've done all those, come back to your top pieces. Apply your glue wherever it's going to be touching. Like I said, remember, you need a lot. And we're going to place it right there. I'm going to take my medium-sized clamps. They're really strong. I'm going to be really careful because I want it to stay in the right place. You can move it if it slides. It's not laying right. I'm going to have to take these off because I'm going to have to rebend that. This might happen to you guys. I'm going to bend it out just a tiny bit. Now remember, you can clean the glue up later. You can also paint over the glue. It's not a big deal. It's supposed to look kind of rustic, so it doesn't really matter if the glue shows. I mean, really, the glue showed a lot on the ones I had the pictures taken of, and you couldn't even tell. So, I'm going to continue that with these small pieces, the size rose swags. You just want them clamped down really hard. All right, so basically, I haven't done them all the way around, but that's what you're going to do. And you're going to do it on each one of your pails. Then, let them sit. You can put them in front of a fan. That helps as well. I want you to let them sit and dry at least a minimum of 24 hours. 48 hours maybe. Because you want them on there really, really strong. Once they're all on there and they're glued really, really well, we're going to come back and we're going to start painting. I also want you guys to paint all of your roses and your little frames the same way. I want you to just paint the fronts. Do not paint the backs because you're going to be gluing them to your glass.